Criteria that you are assessed on in your folio is D2, analysis of research. This is probably the part of the folio that students find the hardest. It is very easy to fall into the trap of this simply collecting information and dumping it in your folio. So going to a website, copying and pasting and just dumping that in your folio, or just writing out all of the answers to the interviews that you've got. That is not what we are after in the folio. Most of what goes in the folio should be your voice. So it should be you taking the information that you found and extracting the main points and talking about how relevant that is, or comparing it to the findings that you have from other sources. So what exactly is analysis? What are we talking about here? We want you to reflect on the relevance of the information that you found. So you've read a website. How relevant is that information? Is it groundbreaking in terms of your research, or does it just confirm what your other sources have said? And leading on from that, discussing how information from different sources compares to each other. So is everything agreeing, or are there points of difference that are important? Discussing how the information influences your understanding. So have you come to understand something that you hadn't thought about before by reading this source? Or has the interview made you understand something that you didn't know before? Discussing how the information is influencing the next step of your research. So having done the survey, what does that mean in terms of what you're going to do next? Do you now need to go off on a different path from what you had originally planned? So before you start to analyse the source that you've looked at, so it might be an internet site, it might be a documentary, it might be a YouTube clip, it might be your survey, you need to explain why you thought this source would be useful. So why did you choose it? What was it that made you read that internet article? What was it that made you seek that person out and do the interview? How you came across that source. So was it recommended by someone for you to read, or did someone recommend that you attend a certain course, or did you just stumble across it? How did you find that source? And then what information did you hope to find from it? Were you hoping to answer one of your focus questions? Were you hoping to confirm something that you'd found out but you weren't sure whether it was really true or not? So that's before you actually start to analyse it. And then your options for analysing are really three. You can take notes, you can annotate the source, or you can summarise, and that can be in tables, flow diagrams, or dot points. We'd also like you to analyse the quality of the source. So after you have got the relevant information, it's useful to do what we call a crap test. And you don't have to answer every question for every source. You also don't want this to take up too much room in your folio. You could also just make comments about how relevant the source was, etc. So you don't need to do a formal crap test every single time. So to break down the different methods of analysis, you can take notes. So really important here to realise that it's not enough just to take notes. You must comment on them, engage with them, show you've interacted with them. So before you even start to take notes, it's a good idea to think of what kind of ideas you need to record. And you might put these under headings straight away. So you might think, I'm looking at cosmetic surgery. What do I need to find out about it? Firstly, what types are done? Secondly, who has it done? Thirdly, what are the side effects? So they might be my three headings. You don't want to write down too much because you'd end up just virtually copying everything. You want to put the ideas in your own words. So this is going to be useful for when you come to write your outcome, because you've already done that paraphrasing, putting it in your own words. You want to point out the relevance of the information. So if you're looking at side effects of cosmetic surgery, why is that relevant? Why have you written that down? Compare it to what you found in other sources as well. So if you're looking at side effects of cosmetic surgery, are they the same side effects that other sources have given you? Did the person you interview say the same things or not? Label your notes well, so they don't want to be just some scribbly mess. And make it quite clear that these are your notes and that you haven't copied and pasted them. So when someone reads your folio, it may not be clear to them what parts you have copied from a website or quoted from your interview and what parts are your own words. You need to make that very clear. And you also need to record the bibliographic information in the correct format. So how to correctly generate citations in 2.9, not 2.8. So look for keywords, facts, statistics. So let's just skim down here to having a look at the note taking. So here we go. Someone has got the main points and these are their own comments. They've got the correct reference here. They've put in a couple of emerging findings, what they're going to do next. Here's another one which is a bit more detailed. So they've got these four headings, and they've taken their notes under there and they've put in their own comments in red. So what they're going to do next. So research acid attacks more. Or research what role this plays further. More evidence of the overwhelming lack of status. So confirming previous findings. And then they've got a little bit more analysis, which I'll go into in a minute. So that's note taking. The next method is annotating. So you might show evidence of your analysis as you find it. So a couple of ways you can do this. You might highlight things in the source. You might put in comment bubbles. You could circle information and comment. You could point arrows to information and comment. But the key thing here is the comments. So let's scroll down and have a look at annotations. So students who are struggling to fill their folio often do this because it takes up more space. So here they've got the reference, what they looked at, and then they've got a little copy and paste, some quotes, and they've got their comments and then their analysis. Same here, they've got a little copy and paste. It's not even necessary to be able to read this. And then they've got their comments. Survey, they've done a similar thing. They've got their comments about the questions, about the answers, how many responded, etc. And then another one here. They've got their comments. That looks very similar to one up the top. That might be a double up. Oh well. So that's their annotations. And then we've got summarising. So don't simply rewrite whole passages of information in your own words. So this is not what the folio is about. So it's better to put these into tables or flow diagrams or a mind map or a dot point list. So to show you examples of summarising down here, here's an excellent table. So this is summarising the findings from all of these different interviews that this person has performed. So really good way of summarising. Again, they've put in a few categories and then they've put in survey results, interviews, YouTube, internet sources, and summarised what all of these have shown. So a table is an excellent way of doing that, summarising. It's also very, very useful for when you come to do your outcome because you've already got your findings there. So analysing the sources, some of your sources are going to be excellent sources, very reliable, very relevant, but some of them are going to be pretty poor. So you might not know who wrote them. They might be really old. They might not agree with anything else you've read. They might be really biased. So for this reason, we do this analysis. The CRAP test is probably the most comprehensive analysis. So it's called CRAP, not because of what you write in it, hopefully, but because of these headings. So currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. So these are a good guide for what you can write. You don't have to do this for every single one of your sources, and you don't have to answer every single question for every single one of your sources. So some of them are not going to be relevant. And I've also just put here, delete the questions out of this table once you have answered them. So these are guides. You don't want it to look like you have just answered a set list of questions, even though that may be what you have done. So things like, is the information current or out of date? You just write information published in 2017, it is current. Author's credentials include a PhD in biochemical science. They are very credible. So you're making judgments all throughout here. You can also do this just in a paragraph. So I'll show you a couple of examples of how people have done this here. So this person has used those headings, but just written in sentences about it. So covered the same information, but not putting in as much detail. Same here, source analysis. They've covered the information there. So is it biased? They're putting in a little score about usefulness, which is a good thing to do. And then skimming down here, that's the same one. That was the repeat. And then here, this person has gone through and written about it. So not using the formal CRAP test pro forma. Analysis and evaluation of website 1. So again, talking about how much they knew, how up to date it is, was it biased, is it consistent, that sort of thing. And then this very colourful one has done it in this way, problems with the source, benefits of the source. And then just the final little part up here, evaluating the sources. So this is similar to the source analysis, but you're reflecting on how it fits in with the rest of your research. So does it link with your research question? Does it lead you to other information? How are you going to use it? So this is analysis, and like I said, if this is probably the worst part of many people's folio. So other ideas, you can summarize a large piece of information, condensing it to one paragraph, gather statistics, key quotes, etc. So I encourage you to look at the project samples for more ideas of analysis.